So, are financial creators even helpful? Let's talk about Dave Ramsey and Caleb Hammer. So, a few personal finance creators have been going viral in recent years, namely Dave Ramsey. He's always been around, but he's gaining popularity, and Caleb Hammer. So, Caleb Hammer produces similar content as Dave Ramsey. So I've been seeing them pop up on my feed, and I just became curious about what attracts people to these financial advice creators and what makes people call into their show or show up on their YouTube channel. I'm asking this because I personally watch these creators, and I just always wonder, like, what's so intriguing about this for me? So I'll start with what these channels offer. An individual comes on in a messed up financial situation, or they can call into the Ramsey show and they can get free financial advice, which is kind of good for that person. Otherwise, they'd have to pay a financial advisor. So they get free financial advice, and then the audience gets to just observe, that's sort of like a voyeur on someone's financial situation. And I think one of the greatest parts about these shows is that a lot of people's finances are messed up because they don't even know what's coming in from what's going out. I think Caleb does a good job at breaking down people's income versus their expenses. It's actually kind of shocking how many people aren't completely sure how much they make per month, or like what loans they have, what outstanding debts they have, what the APRs are on their debts. It's kind of shocking, the lack of knowledge of one's own finances, which I think is one of the things that attracts people to these channels, where you can kind of look at someone and laugh at how foolish or silly they seem to be. Now, I will say both Caleb and Dave could be less condescending in their ways of giving advice, but I think they're mean on purpose because that's entertaining to the audience. Like, you can tell someone their finances are messed up without cursing at them or being mean, but these creators choose to do that because that makes it interesting and entertaining. But that's what these shows offer. What I don't like about personal finance advice is that it's very reductive. So money and spending money can be a deep-rooted emotional problem for some people. I think about myself personally. So I grew up poor, on food stamps, evicted. I remember when I was in school, I would steal food from my school's cafeteria to bring home for my family. And when I was in college, I would send money to my family with my work study job. And if you know anything about work study, you know you're making like minimum wage. But I had to take care of myself on that and send money home to my family to help them with rent or food and all of that. So I personally have denied myself a lot of pleasures to be in a good financial spot today. But a lot of people aren't able to do that. I think people struggle with delayed gratification, and this comes up in areas outside of their finances as well as in their finances. And I think one of the interesting things about money is that it has the potential to magnify problems that are already there. So if you grew up without money, when you have money, it might make you anxious to spend, or it might make you overspend to make up for lost time. On the other hand, if you grew up with money, you can spend so much that you don't even realize the value of money. So the point behind all of this is that to think that you can overhaul someone's finances in a 5-minute conversation or even in an hour-long conversation is incredibly naive. And there could be years and years of programming that has to be undone in that individual for a real notable change to take place. And so it just reduces the problem. And that's not necessarily the situation that a lot of people are in. They have to talk through this over and over again, sometimes with a therapist, to understand their money issues. And neither Caleb nor Dave are in a position to deal with these deep-rooted issues surrounding money. Besides these shows being reductive, I think they're also repetitive. I'll tell you, you can sum up their advice in a few sentences. 1, don't buy a car because it's a depreciating asset. 2, don't ever eat out or DoorDash or Uber Eats. 3, don't go to college and get any liberal arts degree. You can go to college, but do something in STEM. 4, get a Roth IRA. That's it. That is literally the sum total of their advice. And I'm not criticizing that because I think this advice is pretty good advice. It's not necessarily all bad. Sure, things should vary based on the individual. Like, I went to college and got a liberal arts degree, and I'm in a pretty fine financial spot today. But on the whole, that advice is sort of like what I would give my kids when they're a little bit older. But I think in order to follow that advice, you need consistent support. It's not a one-time thing. You don't just show up, let Caleb tell you this, let Dave tell you to get a Roth IRA, and then you're out in the wilderness on your own. I think some people work well that way. Like, I'm one of those people. I'm very self-motivated, and I can do what I need to do to take care of myself. But there are other people that just kind of need their hands held a little bit. And some of where that comes from could be those deep-rooted money issues that I alluded to earlier. So, some of this advice is really repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. And I think that's why Dave and Caleb end up being so angry and slamming the table and doing all these theatrics just to make the conversation more interesting, because it's the same issue over and over again. And I think, too, a lot of people are coming on these shows with their mistakes already made. Like, they've already gotten the English degree. They've already gotten the BMW. So you can't necessarily go back and change some of these things. The car you can put up for sale, but the degree you can't really change. So the advice is repetitive, and that can sometimes make these shows unenjoyable for me to watch. I kind of know like what they're going to say, And then I think the last aspect about financial advice is that it's literally not that serious. Because I've seen some people in some bad financial situations on these shows, like 6-figure debt for years. And they are okay. Like the girls say, being the Lulu is the Salulu. Literally, you're in debt. So what? Like, you have to go bankrupt. So what? I mean, Dave Ramsey declared bankruptcy and now he's a millionaire. So it's not the end of the world. And that's why, people who show up on these shows, one big criticism is that they seem not to care, or they seem not to even understand the gravity of their situation. And the reason is because life keeps going. The debt is there. It might keep growing, but their lives keep going, And so if you don't pay your debt, literally it hurts your credit score. And that's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Because if you're about to make like $1 million, that credit score isn't going to matter. The credit score only matters when you need to borrow money, And this actually reminds me of something Glorilla said. She said, ain't effed up about no credit score. I might be rich as tomorrow. That literally encapsulates the whole thing. They do not care about their debt. They do not care about their credit score, because if they're somehow able to turn it around, and a lot of them believe they're going to be able to turn things around and be a millionaire by tomorrow, and they might be able to be. If you're able to turn it around and make a lot of money, the debt is gone, the credit score is going to be fine. So it's like collections keep calling. Okay. Like, you can't borrow. Okay. I'm not in support of that. It's irresponsible, but it's not the end of the world, and I think Ramsey and Caleb treat it as if you're some kind of moral failure, or it's the end of the world for having bad finances. And I think people have a lot going on, and everyone's situation is unique with a lot of layers. And so, everyone is going to approach finances a little bit differently, and everyone's mindset is going to be a little different. Some people refer to debt as like a weight on your shoulder, but I truly believe that some people don't even feel that. They're like, the debt is there, but they literally don't care. Like it literally is invisible to them. And the thing is, life keeps going, things keep working out for them. And so, I think it's these shows are cool, I think, to watch and see some other people's messed up situations, or, you can commiserate with other people who you might be in a similar situation with. But at the end of the day, like, it's really not that big a deal, in my opinion. And yeah, these shows are becoming so repetitive, and the antics and the theatrics and the slam the table and the slam the papers and the facial expressions and the memes and all that stuff, it's just becoming a little bit like overkill at this point. But I'm still probably gonna watch it. Like, they show up on my YouTube shorts all the time, and I still sit there and I watch the minute long shorts video. It's entertaining. But yeah, I just thought I'd question why people are drawn to this content and why it seems like there's so many personal finance creators nowadays, and what's the value that they're actually bringing. And I think with content, you can't really think too deeply about value, because if you think too deeply about value, you'll realize that not a lot of content creators even bring any kind of value to the table, outside of Caleb and Dave. Like, a lot of people are just making videos. Like, it's really not that deep. So anyway, just my 2 cents for this week. Let me know in the comments, do you watch these creators? Do you watch personal finance content? What do you think of this content? What do you think of Dave's content, Caleb's content? Has it helped you? Are there other personal finance creators that you think are actually useful and helpful? I'd love to hear that in the comments. So thanks, guys. Don't forget to watch the last video where we talked about the winter arc and why you don't need it. See you in the next one.